Welcome to day 5 of the Quarantine Journal. We're on day 3 of the statewide lockdown, and today's going to be a different episode, more of a podcast style. We've got my friend Swift. Swift, welcome in.
Hey, welcome, Nick. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, dude. So Swift is, well, I'll let you tell everyone about your background, but in my mind, one of the baddest dudes in Colorado. And we were going to sit down and talk about things like urban survival. So Swift, what have you done for a living?
For pay, I have done law enforcement for a long time. 9 years of paramedic prior to almost 20 years law enforcement. Also did some contracting on the side, I guess you'd call that. Martial arts, firearms dealer for 12 years, and I took some time away from that because it started getting a little weird.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, healthcare is in my family line, and that's pretty much all I've ever got paid for.
Yeah, nice, man. So, like I said, urban survival, and you were the first one to come to mind. I know you've talked about it a little bit in the past couple of weeks. So, people have asked you stuff, right? People have been DMing the hell out of you. So right. You put it out there. So you told me before we went live that it's a very broad and a very deep topic. You want to like delve into that a little bit? Kind of explain that.
So yeah, urban survival, 2 words, very simple. They both have their own connotations that everyone can understand, but urban survival itself is a very broad and a very deep term. You know, since all the zombie movies since the 90s, you know, everyone's done urban survival, apocalyptic, doomsday, blah 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 blah. To me, even from when it was going on, I always think about just more of a marketing aspect, business aspect, than it is true prepping stuff. So the moment federal ammunition put green tips on bullets and put a zombie on the deal, holy shit, that was great marketing. But urban survival is been around the globe. If you surely think about the Balkans, those wars, I hope to be soon to be personal acquaintance, face to face, Salvo. He does some urban survival classes based on his experiences in the Balkan Wars when he was locked down in Sarajevo. You know, that was 2 years. That's urban survival.
Right.
Where you had a sprawling metropolis and it was just down to shit and rubble and, you know, no holds barred survival.
Right.
That's urban survival too. Urban survival is also, I'm from the South, so tornadoes, floods, wildfires.
Sure.
Here in Colorado, the sheriff's office I worked for, wildfires, 3-4 years ago now, the flood. Floods.
Dude, that was 7 years ago. The Boulder flood you're talking about?
Yeah,
dude, that was my freshman year at CU. So that was 2013.
Yeah, well,
almost 6.5.
Yeah, I'm old.
Man, time I can't believe it's that long because I moved. That means I moved to Colorado over like almost 7 years ago.
Right. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I went to had my yearly checkup, and my doc was talking about my knee injury, and I was like, "Oh yeah, it's a couple years ago." He's like, "You did that in 2013." And I was like, I forget.
World's speeding up, man.
Oh, but yeah, I mean the timelines blur, but the lessons never blur. The lessons always stick out, no matter what. So wildfire, floods. You know, when I was a paramedic a long time ago, I was a part of one of the FEMA response teams, and I went to Haiti after the earthquake and hurricanes.
Damn. Yeah.
Twice in 2 years. So that's
they got messed up there for a minute.
Oh, twice.
Yeah.
Other than that, I went to Mexico City after the big earthquake. Now 3 years ago.
For sure.
3 years ago now.
Sure, it was 3 years ago.
So yeah, it's urban survival. Urban survival is so um, dictated by what
Right.
was the
Yeah, like the hurricane down in New Orleans to Katrina, but then also
right, which I was down there for that too.
Houston. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
You were
had to
down
go.
there?
Yeah, on it was, to me it was funny, but to everyone else goes, oh my god, I can't believe it. But you know me, I'm kind of messed up a little bit. We were USAR, Urban Search and Rescue response team for FEMA for the sheriff's office I was employed by, and we get down there because of my medical license. We started trying to help the field hospital and do triage and treatment and this and that. And all of a sudden, one of the FEMA guys comes over and a state guy comes over. He goes, hey, you guys are SWAT too, right? We're like, yeah. And he goes, good, we're reassigning you guys. I'm like, of course, my commander goes, all right, what do you guys need? And he goes, we have roving gangs just going around looting and killing people. So we need a QRF, quick response force, to go hopefully catch them or whatever you guys decide. And that's how it usually goes.
Yeah.
When things are evolving that quickly and that rapidly and that much weight behind certain responses. So we went and put up our medical gear and then got all our other gear out of the truck, and they gave us jet skis and flat bottom boats, and we teamed up with another team from Louisiana. So things change and things fast, and I think that next day we had gator for dinner. So
never had gator. I heard it's good.
Yeah. Anyways, so urban survival is across the board, whether it can be a natural disaster, man-made disaster, or just pandemic.
Sure. So yeah, as it relates to this pandemic, something you said kind of stuck out, like how it evolves so fast. And we've noticed that with this spread of COVID-19. It seems like every day there's new information. Every day there's new decisions being made. I say every day, it feels like it's every hour, like there's new information coming out. There's stuff saying it's way worse than we expect. There's stuff saying it's way better than we expect. What we have been seeing a lot, though, is that kind of around the world, the rate of increase is starting to drop off, which is great, right? It means we're starting to get close to maybe hitting the cap where it starts to level off. China says they've seen it. Who knows if they actually have or not. I guess we're going to get better reports out of Italy, and they seem like they're starting to slow down, right? They've tapered off. Like their rate of deaths per day is starting to drop a little bit,
right?
Which is good. Point is, things are evolving very, very quickly. And so I think with the people that have been DMing you and the people that have shot me questions knowing that we were going to sit down, they all seem to be asking questions about what are the first signs. So like we talked about off the air, neither of us really think that things are going to pop right now with the disease right now. We're all scared of that. We have a common enemy. We're all bunkered. Most of us anyway are bunkered down, taking it mostly seriously.
Right.
But after that passes, what do you see happening, and what would you tell people are the warning signs for if you think something's going to pop? And by pop, for everyone listening, I mean like there's one incident that is kind of like an ignition. And then after that, in that city, in that country, maybe just in that little region, things are now not safe.
Right. By no means am I a psychologist, a licensed therapist. My certification is for critical incident stress debriefing for the individual and groups. So basically, officer-involved shootings, anything that could create PTSD in a first responder. So that's where my certification is. Other than that, when I was the civil disturbance unit riot team leader, I did attend a semester at a local university on psychology. I was allowed to attend and ask questions just on mob mentality, the psyche of group people and stress. And anyways, so I didn't get credit for it. Of course, I didn't. The agency didn't pay for it. The guy just let me come in so I could learn more.
Sure.
But again, I don't have a PhD and nothing like that. But under stress, humans, an individual can handle it. But you start putting more and more people together, and you add fear into the mix, and you add the possibility of getting sick, illness. The tensions will increase and tighten up. And I don't mean to divert a little bit, but what I am seeing personally, and when I do talk to friends of mine around the country, it alleviates some of my fear. Mm-hmm. And I'll explain to you this. So on paper, in the news and Twitter and this world and that world, and I don't really care. You will expect people to start rioting, start hoarding, start hating each other, the worst part of humanity.
Sure.
Which God didn't put in us. That's just out of our fear and after the fall of Eden. Sorry, that's the second one. So that's what you expect. So people start hoarding and preparing and prepping and it's just us. It's not just us. I appreciate your sentiment, but it's not just you. It's not just us. It's not just me and my family. But again, when I talk to my friends around the country, even in my neighborhood, I've never seen this many of my neighbors out walking and talking.
Notice that too.
I hate the term social distancing because we're people. God made us to be social. I someone sent it to me the other day, call it physical distancing, which is really what it is. You can still socialize, but you need to stay a little bit further away just for the airborne droplet exposures. Anyways, but people around the country, they're like, hey, everyone's talking to people, neighbors are talking across their fences. And even my dad told me, he goes, hey, it's kind of like the 50s and 60s again. He goes, but without the drugs and the stupid shit. So he goes, but people are interacting. People are out. People are, they're not distracted.
Yeah.
With the games and the movies and the other stupid crap that we inundate our lives with to make it so busy, you do not get to enjoy life.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not saying that God sent this as a plague upon humanity, but God in the Bible tells us that he will use what's meant for evil and he'll spin it. And he'll use it for good. I mean, crap. Even my kids, which are now homeschooled by the school district through online e-learning, they're like, we love being around you guys. We haven't got to spend this much time in how long ever?
Yeah.
And again, my family's blended. So I have my 3 kids and my 2 stepdaughters, but they're still mine. But they're like, they get time. We get time together.
Yeah. And that's, I think, something that you miss when you spend too much time looking online at all the news and all of that, like, in a lot of ways, like, there are good things that are coming of this. You're getting people bunkered down. You're getting people working from home. You're getting people, like you said, spending time with their families, with their wives, with their kids, calling their grandma after they might not have called her in a couple months or a couple years, calling their grandmas, calling their moms, kind of reconnecting on a more natural level, I think, and that's been cool. Cause even when I go on my daily runs, I'll walk down the street and there's all kinds of people outside. My neighbors next door that I've never seen outside, they were all out in their yard doing calisthenics together, so it's been kind of cool as far as that's concerned.
Okay. So back to your question.
Yeah.
So I digress sometimes. So, but given the tensions of illness, I foresee and what I fear for society, not for me personally, but what I fear for society would be certain groups, certain locations, certain states that would possibly, out of their own fear, take away from another group, whether it be Food stamps get shut off. Unemployment doesn't get paid on time or the amount of what other people think, because the bills are still coming, even though no one's working. I mean, don't get me wrong. Our president, our government, Colorado's governor is doing the stimulus package or recovery package or whatever you want to call it. Doesn't matter. It's supposed to be money coming to help people alleviate the stress on them from not working, not be able to do this, not being in an essential business, so you don't get to work.
Mm-hmm.
But when you have the stress of the illness and then being locked up, and then not locked up, but quarantined, and then all of a sudden you take away resources from a group,
especially promised resources.
Well, promised resources. But what I've also seen and hearing and watching is the entitlement attitude has dropped off. It's no longer there. I mean, because everyone's like, oh, yeah, I'm not working, and people, again, individually, they're not stupid. I don't care how far left a liberal might be or how far right a right-winger might be. When something when something like this hits and affects everybody goes, okay, resources have to be spread. Everyone's not working. Common sense is starting to come back a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, pain. My friend Roman, pain requires a response. C.S. Lewis, in his Problem with Pain book, God uses pain as his megaphone to awaken or rouse a deaf world. To me, this is one of those.
Yeah. We're all suffering, and that's been something I've been saying from the start. It's like, we're all in this together,
We are.
For the first time in my lifetime, the world is all in something together. And it's, it's sad and it's kind of crazy to watch, and the death toll is rising and all that. But at the other side of it, it's like, we're all in this together, and that's kind of cool.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Sometimes I forget how young you are. Because my kids came to me and go, hey, Dad, have you seen this? And they show me the video. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I remember when that did. I raised money for that when all the artists did We Are the World.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Jackson, Stevie, all of them. I remember that.
I do not.
But neither does my wife.
Yeah.
But it comes and goes in this world, in this side of heaven. It comes and goes. It's sad that it goes, but it's always welcomed when it comes. Just the other day, ministers across the country did a prayer hour. I was working, so I didn't get to see it, but my mom sent it to me, and she sent me crap. I think I stopped scrolling after like 30 swipes of comments after it. 'Cause I'm like, okay, I don't got time for this shit. Because of everything I'm involved in, it takes a lot more of my time, especially with this going on.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why I didn't mean to blow off one guy who goes, oh, I can record tomorrow. What I've got going on and everything I'm involved in is my time's very, very tight
right now. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Because I'm on a police advisory board. I do some other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I got asked if I'd put a badge back on to come out of retirement to help them out, because a local department is down just about half their officers. So so they can still respond to the other emergency calls. And I am. I'm going to.
Nice.
Yeah.
So
I know.
So that actually leads me into a question I had for you.
I never did answer your question.
Huh?
I don't think I ever answered your question.
I don't know if we did or not. We kind of went down this rabbit hole there.
Right.
But there's been a couple cities across the country. I think St. Louis is one, if I remember correctly. Philadelphia did, and Cincinnati possibly. I think New York, that have put out notices to their law enforcement orders pretty much not to arrest for petty offenses. Where the kind of procedure now is they take them in, they get their information and everything, and then they let them go. Right. At what point, what do you think the correct response is for like a normal law-abiding citizen in that situation? Like, do we start carrying? Do we start like taking our own safety more seriously? What do you think the next step
Um,
is?
individual safety
Mm-hmm.
is individual safety and family safety. Um, main examples: self-defense, use of force to protect yourself or others. Um, I get into this debate, especially with some certain clergy, preachers,
Mm-hmm.
and self-defense is actually biblical.
Mm-hmm.
So I would suggest or advise um, anybody who can legally carry, and you already have your CHP, concealed handgun permit, no matter
Mm-hmm.
where you're at, carry. Um, if you do not have your permit, you need to understand the laws of your state fully, not just half-ass read it. I mean, read it. Read the footnote. If you can get to the LexisNexis page of it, read the footnotes. Understand what they were meaning exactly by it. Most states, not all, most states, and which is sad to say, not all states, um, have your um, ability to carry a concealed loaded handgun in your vehicle while you travel.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the part. Watch it. Travel, and then under the state quarantines or shelter in places, prevent unnecessary or non-essential travel. So you're going to get into a very not even a spider web. You're going to get into a bird's nest on the laws about what is legal, what's not legal, um, about carrying a concealed handgun
Mm-hmm.
for self-defense. Um, because of the travel ban, the non-essential travel, even in your state, even in your local municipality. So you'll need to fully understand that. Hopefully, you have a permit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but you got to do what you got to do to protect yours.
Right.
Um, but understand them. I mean, understand the law, and then also understand the laws on the use of the application of the deadly force. And given the strain on local law enforcement, I would be more hesitant in a large city to do anything. Anywhere else, I would advise to read up and understand the arrest powers of citizens, because they're going to be strained. You know, if you got to call 911 for someone, lewd mowing your car, lewd molestation, touching your car, trying to get into it, because they haven't actually broken in. So it's in Oklahoma and Texas, Missouri, and Kansas, it's called lewd mow. In Colorado, it's called brain fart. Anyways, there's a site for it. But if you can hold somebody, and I don't mean physically holding them, until local law enforcement can get there to gather their information and then cite them, ticket them for whatever crime you observed. Again, when you observe a crime, you still have to write a report and then be able to testify to it if it goes to court. If you're going to citizens arrest somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And again, you need to fully understand the laws. But I would only advise a citizen's arrest for stupid shit.
Yeah.
I mean, if they're trying to hurt you or somebody else, that's your call.
Right.
You're the one who has to live with your choice and the consequences that follow that. If for some reason you have to employ a firearm.
Right. And I've heard you say before on other podcasts that never to carry anything you're not comfortable with, and more specifically, never carry anything you're not comfortable using.
Right.
So it's like, if you're not comfortable with the idea of shooting somebody, don't carry a gun, because you're not going to use it, which gives them a gun if they didn't have one already. And
Right.
I really like that. And I think that's so applicable in times like these, where people, I think, are more likely to panic, where tensions are already high. People are already a little bit panicky as it is, worried. There's not a single person in the world who knows what's going to happen in the next 3 to 6 months. And it's crazy to me to think about, because no one can predict the future, but usually there's at least some kind of normalcy. Right now, It's like totally out the window.
Right. Yeah. So a concealed handgun is comforting, not comfortable. So if you've never wore it before, I guess get used to it. It's going to suck until it just becomes habit. When I travel to Mexico, by the federal law there, I can't have my knife or my gun there. So that was the most uncomfortable time for me ever, because that dig into my flesh where my cranbit ring sets, or my gun sets, was kind of missing it. But if you've never carried, or you don't carry, just remember that, a sidearm, a concealed handgun, is comforting, not comfortable.
Right. Especially if it's a big one. I was just in this discussion with one of my buddies the other day. It's like, if it's most shootings are 7 yards?
Maybe.
At the most.
For law enforcement, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, at that point, it doesn't matter what caliber the gun is. You just need to stop the situation, right?
Right. So most law enforcement shootings are about 7 to 5 yards. Most non-law enforcement shootings are a little bit further. They're usually about 8 to 12 yards. And it's because cops are trained to, you want to get close to people because you have to interact with them. So, but citizens, other people, have their line in the sand a little bit further away.
Sure. Makes sense. All right. So let's get into a whole bunch of the questions that I've gotten on the Twitter and from other people. Looking at one, this is a good one. What conditions determine a shelter in place versus bugging out? So like, when would you say it, especially like in a city or in a densely populated area, right? Where you're talking about a city, suburbia, stuff like that. At what point would you say stay in place as long as you can, or just get the hell out?
Well, I talked about this. You called me 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, we talked about this.
Yeah. For any major catastrophe or disturbance, if you just start running around like a chicken with your head cut off, you're going to be dinner.
You're going to be a chicken.
You're going to be a chicken. And not to say chickens are cowardly or not. Because my grandpa, he raised chickens. We always had chickens, and fuck, I don't care. I didn't give a shit how big I was. I think I was 14 by the time I was able to walk into the pen without freaking out. And it wasn't just because of the chickens, that damn rooster. Holy shit. Anyway, I would advise, just like I advised you, Nick, stop, wait. Where does the dust settle? What's going on? What's the real threat? And then react accordingly. So shelter in place is easy. It's your kingdom. You know what you have. You know your resources. You know exactly what is there and what is also around your kingdom. If you bug out, you're now have a mobile kingdom, which you are putting your mobile kingdom somewhere else that you're not familiar with, which makes you a bigger target, or more of a target than if you just shelter at home, until you realize and can assess truly what's going on, what's the threat, what's the need, what are resources, before you move. Now, I'm not saying you shelter in place and then that's all good and everything else, but because it's not the case. So, I mean, it's a good question. It's a hard question to answer because there's so many ifs. What if, then what, type responses that could come up hypothetically. And again, I would advise you, if something were to happen, just sit and wait. Take that breath. Lacrosse player, my son played lacrosse. You get into one of those where they all just get together, try to find the ball.
Yep.
The moment there's a quick break, take a breath, look around, assess, and then decide and go.
Yeah.
So basically, you're implementing a large scale OODA loop management.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't observe and you don't orientate correctly, you're not going to make the best decision.
Right.
And then the action you pick will probably maybe get you killed, maybe get you hurt, maybe hang you out to dry.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, I've said this forever, and I will always say it too. Lack of preparation will then present people like me who are not on the correct side of morality. You are either an asset or you have assets. And if you're not an asset, I'm taking your assets.
Yeah. That's like the joke about the toilet paper. You know, it's like you're hoarding toilet paper. I'm hoarding guns and ammo. Sounds like I'm also hoarding toilet paper. Like,
oh yeah. So I mean, if you have a neighborhood, you have new neighbors, well, sort of, because you've now seen them and talking to them a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You've now created a loose community.
Yeah.
So
that's a good point. You know, I know my neighbors behind me enough to know they're not going to break into my garage, right?
Right.
I know my neighbors to the left and right well enough to know they're probably not breaking into the house either, you know? So it's like here, the people directly around me, we're good. We know each other, right?
Oh, yeah.
We've only been in the house just over 6 months now, so it's not like they're old friends of mine, but I know them, right? Some of them by name, some of them by face. We wave, whatever. That's a good point, man. You bug out, like you get rid of all of that. You're in a new territory with new neighbors that you may or may not know, that you may or may not know that you have neighbors, right?
Yeah.
I remember we talked about that with the mountains, because being in Denver, everyone thinks, oh, I'm going to go to the mountains. And like, I was part of that too, where it was like, oh, I'm going to the mountains. I know the mountains. I've been there all the time. Like,
right.
And I am up in the mountains all the time, but still I don't live there. I don't live up there. I don't know the area as well as a local in Fairplay or Buena Vista or Eagle Vale, whatever, Breck. And like you mentioned, everyone in Denver is going up that way, which means it's going to get weird before like the planes do. So now I've kind of revised my own plan where it's like, if things do go totally crazy with this, and I think it's worth reiterating that I don't think either of us ever think it will. No. But if it does, I'm heading east. I'm going to Kansas, Nebraska, eastern Colorado, where you can see for a long way.
Right. And the only time I would ever run to the mountains to get away from something, I have an older acquaintance of mine who used to work for the DOE, Department of Energy. And then before he worked there, he was in the Army, stationed kind of not too far away from here where I'm at, in one of the underground facilities that had a big freaking missile in it. And he goes, the Army Corps of Engineers did a good study and theoretical plans and tabletop exercise that if for some reason this side of the mountains a nuke goes off or lands or whatever else, roughly you have about an hour and a half to 2 hours to get to the peak because of the wind and the roll. And he nerded out on me, and I'm like, what do I need to know? if a nuke goes out of here, you got to get up there, because if you're not up there, you're going to get baked.
Yeah, and with the jet stream, it's all going to the planes.
But that'd be the only time that my family would have to haul ass to the mountains.
Sure.
But other than, again, truly, I mean, our globe has a crap load of nukes around in it. But I don't even fear nuclear warfare anymore, because humanity's caught up. I don't care how far you think a leader's off base or whatever else. I truly don't believe anybody would use a nuke that's that large. Nukes, of course. I mean, they're small. Shit, that's nothing. But a big one, I truly don't believe we face that threat anymore. The threat is there, but the application of that threat is not there.
Sure. Yeah. Where it's like, it's a possibility, but it's so distant and so far out of what would be a
Right.
tactical decision, like a good sound decision in any way. It's like we would never do it.
I'll put my tinfoil hat on right now. Only if AI takes over the mainframe, then it would happen. All right, off.
We are talking so many hypotheticals with this conversation too.
Right.
It's kind of funny. Okay, next question from the same guy.
Shoot.
He wants to know a max bag weight in relation to your body weight if you were going to bug out. I would say it's the same kind of rules as backpacking, you know?
I would reiterate and emphasize, and to a friend of ours and a personal friend of mine, AJ, if you can't carry it and walk or run a mile or a mile and a half, it's too heavy. You know, it all depends on your physical muscle capacity, your workload, and then your conditioning.
Yeah.
If you can't hump that motherfucking rack a mile and a half, it's too heavy.
Mm-hmm. It's a good way to put it. It's kind of where I was at with it too.
Yeah. So again, I think last time I weighed my pack, just the pack alone was only, I think, 25 pounds.
That's not much.
Well, don't forget what else I carry and what I wear.
So you're looking at like what, 70, 80 pounds?
So when I'm all kitted out, we weigh just for shits and giggles. When I'm all kitted out, at everything at its minimum amount of weight, like my M4 is 9.32 pounds loaded. That's light. I mean, it's bare bones. Well, you shot it just the other day.
Yeah.
And then my plates and my kit pack, I think I was at like 84 pounds total. That's boots, uniform.
The whole nine, not just the pack. Yeah.
Everything. So the pack alone, as minimal as you can, what you need. If you're going to load it out as heavy as you can, minus the kitchen sink, then again, you're no longer an asset. You have assets. Mm-hmm. And if you're trying to run in front of me and you fall, there's always that old adage, you die first, we're splitting your gear.
Yeah. It's dark, but if we're talking about it already,
Right.
That's a good point. So answer to the question is, if you can carry it, okay. If you can't, yeah. And be real with that. I think a lot of people think, I can carry this. It's like, okay, take the bag, go out, run for a mile, see what it does to you, see how things go.
I've got a case of MREs. I can put it in my backpack.
All right, buddy.
Yeah.
That's heavy. Okay, we've already kind of touched on this one, but to be more succinct, what should you look for in an urban lockdown situation, or how would you prepare for that and for rioting and looting? So if for whatever reason a lockdown comes down, like what we saw in China, where it's like you can't leave your house, how would you prepare for that?
Well, apparently you need toilet paper.
Really?
I got a phone call from a friend of mine. He's a friend of a friend, actually kind of close towards you in the Denver area. He's like, hey, I got a plumbing question. I'm like, I'm not a plumber. He goes, but I don't want to ask anybody else. Okay, shoot, what? He goes, my toilet backed up. I go, okay. And do you have a plunger? He's like, no. I'm like, yeah, you're fucked. So he actually already ran out of toilet paper because he didn't buy anything. He didn't, normal prep.
Right.
So he was using brawny paper towels to wipe his arse.
Them.
I'm like, those don't flush. I said, you go to the store, get a plunger first, and not a cheap one, not that just a redhead one. Get the one that's got, a good one, a good plunger, and then get the septic tank enzymes. He's like, well, I'm a septic tank. I go, you asked me for advice. I'm giving you advice. You don't want to take it. Have fun swimming in shit. Again, the enzymes will eat the brawny paper towels in line. So they'll clear the line out by itself. That way you're not paying Roto-Rooter to come out, and I don't even know what they charge anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Shelter in place. So your minimal preparations, at least know what you need every single day for an individual person. And then go from there. If you have more than one person in the house, double it. You know, if you have 3 people in the house, triple it. How much toilet paper? The average person creates around 6 to 7 pounds of garbage a day. You know, figure out what you can do with that garbage. Can you reuse it at all? Tuna cans. I use tuna cans not all the time. They're in my gun cleaning kit. They're on my workbench. They're in my toolbox to separate my little sockets and other stupid shit. That's not garbage. Then that's repurposed. Soap, dish soap, laundry soap. Do you have enough? Can you make any with what you have? Food, non-perishable, perishable. Understand what they are. Understand your freshness times.
Sure.
You know, bananas and apples in the refrigerator, you know, will last, I don't know, a week and a half. Bananas that are brown and black are still edible. You know, I'm so tired of my kids. Oh, it's black, throw it out. You know what? If it's black and mushy, make banana bread.
Yeah.
You know, don't waste my food.
Yeah, we made banana bread the other day.
Oh yeah. But anyway, so back to it. But to protect what you have, your main entry points, if looting or rioting happens, and actually this carries over across the board. It's what I advise when I do security threat assessments on people's residences. Your main entry point, your front door. You know, how many times will someone boot in their front door to do a home invasion? You know, all of it. A lot of what I advise traverses everything. So I truly, you know, if you don't have a good drill gun, get one, borrow one. I don't give a shit. Change out the screws on your front door hinges, because the little ones that come with it are like this. You know,
Yeah.
Put 3-inch fucking screws in each one of those into the door seal.
Mm-hmm.
Once it closes that door seal that wraps it around, you just now reinforced and kind of harden your door. Do the same thing for where the deadbolt slides into the door seal, and then your kick plate for the doorknob itself. Change out those screws. You want 3-inch, at least 3-inch screws in there. If you can, and if you have the skills, the carpentry skills, to change out the door seal on the strike face side, like where the latch goes, to put in a kick plate, do it. You can Google it. You know, I'm like your secretary. Google it, kick plate, reinforcement door, front entry door.
Mm-hmm.
Do the same thing if you have a garage. Do the same thing for your garage door into the house.
Yeah.
Because, and here I'll tell you here in just a quick second why. Because the garage door is the easiest way for somebody who has any type of skill to get into a house. So you want to reinforce your garage door, entry door, because that's a fire door by building code, and that's a hard motherfucker to kick in, especially when you drop in those 3-inch screws. On your garage door, your overhead garage door, that red emergency pull cord.
Yep.
You know, in case you whatever else, take that fucking thing off. Take it off.
Mm-hmm.
I can get in your house with a clothes hanger. You slide the clothes hanger in between the gap of the garage door. I slide over, pull it, and I pull it down. Now I can pick the door up.
Over the top. You put it over the top of the door, yeah.
Over the top, I drag the hook across. I feel
and there's
it.
Always windows too. On so many garage doors, you can just see what you're doing the whole time. Yeah.
Take that red cord off. The old garage doors, when I was a kid in early adulthood, were manual. You had to pick it up, and they had an automatic latch. So, and a lock on the garage door, so you could actually lock your garage door. With the automatic garage door open, because we're lazy, because we're human, and to take those off, or the automatic garage door wouldn't work. Back door, same thing. Hopefully you have a fence, a privacy fence. I know a lot of places here in Colorado don't allow 6-foot or higher privacy fences. But if you have a privacy fence, good. My personal favorite is if you have a privacy fence, whether it's even picketed or if it's from the flat top rails, Lowe's, Home Depot, you probably can get it cheaper at a carpet supply store, but the carpet tax, stain those the exact same stain as your fence, put that on the very top, closest to the house, so you have a good gap, so someone trying to come over your fence can't see it, and then when they try to jump up, they get a surprise. Okay, automatic deterrent. Shit, that hurts, I don't want it. Okay.
Yeah, it's not about necessarily being impossible to break in. It's about being a harder target than your neighbors, and then
what you're
worth.
Right. This tactic, this strategy is threefold. So you have that deterrent. So people who, jump fences or whatever else, they're like, okay, there. That automatically judges their mindset. If someone does that and then still goes and gets something, carpet or shirt or rug or whatever else, and still makes it over your fence, okay, you just now gained your third. Their mindset is more than just take your stuff. Okay. And in Colorado, CRS 18704.5, kind of make my day law, castle doctrine. They're in your deal. Oh, also, if you have a gate to your backyard, put a lock on it. It doesn't have to be super expensive. Just put a lock on it. And I'll tell you why here in a minute. So if that person jumps your fence, gets over your security measure on your fence, you've already judged, and it's clearly articulable to any cop from rookie to experienced, that person was very intentional on getting in your backyard.
Because you had a deterrent up and they went past it. If you just had the fence, they could just be, they just wanted to jump the fence, pass through or whatever. But if it's, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, from a legal standpoint, that makes a lot of sense, yeah. Now
you're tracking, and you have a lock on your gate. So now they had to actually either bust through it or truly just go around your deterrent. Because if someone is trying to get in your property and your home, even in situations like this, the shelter in place type thing, whatever else, they're not really there to take your stuff, because everybody knows everybody's home. So if they're not there to take your stuff and they're still there, what I would suggest be in your mind and be able to articulate it well is that they're there to hurt you, your loved ones, or something else that is way more than just taking your stuff. And then act accordingly.
As you see fit.
Easy fix.
Yep. Makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
So that's for the lockdown. How about for, I guess that'd be looting too, huh?
Yep.
Like if you, do you know any?
Looters are hilarious. Oh my God. So sorry. But they are the funniest thing to watch. It's like watching ants and monkeys and just kind of just wave around, always path of least resistance. Yeah, they smash stuff and set stuff on fire. But when a group tries to flip a car over, watching all those people exert that much energy, they're done. There's no more looting for them because they're like, I'm done going home. I need a beer. I need to go smoke a joint. Or it's the funniest thing to watch. Because I've had to study it quite a bit from CCTV, closed circuit tape recordings.
Yeah.
My favorite ones are Seattle. Those people up there crack me up to watch. Yeah, they're tearing stuff up and causing all kinds of property damage out the ass. But just watching the movement,
like the patterns,
it's hilarious. It's hilarious. It happens everywhere. I mean, people are people, and when people get in those mob mentalities, they lose their individuality.
Right.
Which is why law enforcement really tries to use cameras to try to find the leader, because that's who gets the biggest charges.
That makes sense, because he's starting the whole thing. So in a riot situation, what would be like, what are the warning signs that a riot's going to break out? just kind of overall tension? Is there really
You'll
any good sign?
you'll feel it. You'll feel it coming.
Like tension in the air.
Tension. So for me and me only, pre-riot and right at the initial stages of it, to me, because where I was raised, it's like a tornado. Yeah, it's big and thunder and lightning, you know, as it builds up. So you start feeling the tension, and you start feeling it, and people will keep talking certain things, what else, and then the noise, if you call it the noise, will drop, and all of a sudden shit just blows up. Let's see.
Interesting. I'd almost expect it to be more of like a crescendo where it just keeps ramping and ramping, but it just dies for a second.
Yeah. Even if you do the study on the LA riots when Rodney King got his ass beat, which I don't agree with, and that's in almost every use of force training that I teach. It was all loud, you know, and all of a sudden it went quiet for about 4 hours, and then it just boom. So it's kind of like if you ever study fire characteristics, fire traits, it's like a backdraft.
Mm-hmm.
You know, all of a sudden it sucks out all the room and starts to superheat itself. The moment any kind of air source gets to it, boom.
Yeah. Interesting. So kind of as related to this whole pandemic and this quarantine and stuff, right now we're seeing all the noise. Everyone's, but if everything gets quiet, might be time to watch out for something.
Right, which is why I kind of started perking up Tuesday. My news feed, not on Twitter, what I watch, the news kind of stopped coming in.
Yeah.
And so I got a little worried just because, you know, my little spidey sense. But I was like, oh shit, okay. So I made some phone calls. And it's because the news reporters and journalists got kicked out of China.
Yeah.
And there's a law that just got proposed. It's not a law, a bill that got proposed kind of high up to start holding the journalists accountable for the bullshit they spread.
Nice. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's like the principal or the nun got the ruler out and be like, I'll whip your ass, you know.
Mm-hmm. It's like quit lying, quit causing shit. It's like in hockey, man. You still get 5 minutes for instigating.
Oh, I know.
Moving on. How about this one? How would you suggest someone, like in a self-defense situation, how do you properly escalate? So with and without martial arts training. So like guys like me who can fight, when is a legally acceptable time to throw the first punch or to throw a return punch or something like that? And for people without martial arts training, when would be a legally acceptable time to fight back or to pull out a weapon? And obviously I know that you can't give legal advice, but
no, I'm not a lawyer.
Yeah.
I'm not a lawyer at all. The Constitution allows law enforcement to physically detain or defend against and even arrest somebody under the fighting words doctrine. Quick example, you know, if you were right here in front of me, Nick, you know, Nick, you're an asshole. I don't fucking like you, blah, 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 blah. You know, I think you're a piece of shit, blah, 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 blah. Bull crap like that. Do you feel threatened?
I'd be annoyed.
Okay.
But maybe that's because I know you, right? If I didn't know you,
right.
and you were doing that, I'd be a little threatened for sure.
Yeah.
My hair on my back of my neck would be standing up.
Yeah, Nick, your coffee sucks. I'm gonna fuck your girlfriend. Blah 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 blah. You know, are you threatened? You're pissed off.
I'm pissed off. That's a good word for it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Quick timeout. Anger is okay. Justifiable anger. Being angry is not a sin. It's what you do after that is a sin. Okay. Go back in. You're pissed off. I hurt your feelings. You know, You might want to go call your mom and be like, hey, Swift hurt my feelers. What up? Hey, not fighting words. Nick, I'm going to come over there. I'm going to beat your fucking ass. Fighting words.
Mm-hmm.
I just gave a threat that you know and you feel that I would come through on and do that.
Sure.
Okay. Proximity is part of it as well. If you do or you don't know my skill level or my intent or what I'm truly capable of. Also, size goes into that effect too. I am taller and bigger than you are. You know my history, you know my skill and type thing, which you also, I totally forgot that you wrote a pretty good freaking Twitter thread article.
Oh man, way back.
My wife reminded me of that. Anyways, but you know, that goes into play too. That's another factor that goes into it. So if I go, Nick, I'm going to beat your fucking ass. All of a sudden you throat punch me and I'm like, oh fuck, okay.
Right.
Legally, you're okay. But also then how's that reported? How's that articulated? Did anybody capture that on film? You know, to protect you and to use against me type thing. So that would be that. Also, I don't ever do threats. So if I'm gonna beat someone's ass, I just like, you know, boom.
Right.
You know, it's done. But that comes with the experience level. I know a case in Missouri that one guy was former military, another guy was a fireman. There was a divorce in the middle of that somewhere. The military guy said that when he got out, just like that, he was going to come hurt his ex-wife and the fireman's wife. So the fireman decided to get his concealed carry. And then the moment that guy got back around, didn't even make it. I think he made it just out of his car. The fireman drew and shot and killed him. Okay.
Wow.
Is it self-defense? Is it fighting words doctrine? Is it, what is it? Luckily, they had documented it enough. The guy had also said it in front of some other people that he was going to hurt his wife or hurt his ex-wife and hurt that fireman guy. The fireman had no martial arts, no real firearms training except for his concealed handgun permit and type stuff. He was justified. He knew that guy had the skill level. His DD-214 was admissible in court for the fireman's defense. The other guy was a combat veteran and some other stuff. The first guy, he made a poor choice. You know, if you got divorced, who fucking cares? Move on. You know, there's no need to for a guy to hurt a girl unless she's trying to stab him, type thing. I mean, yeah, I guess I'm trying to cover it, but I don't condone domestic violence at all because I'm still got my certification on domestic violence investigator. But I've also arrested a lot of women too who are beating their husbands up. Mm-hmm. But the fireman, he was justified. He was legally protected, civilly protected, and he was okay. Now he still has to live with that he dropped that guy. So there's a consequence, even if it's a righteous act, there's still a consequence because we're human in the sight of heaven. But legally and civilly, he was protected. That guy had already said, I'm coming over there to do this harm. Mm-hmm. So so that covers both.
Right.
Martial arts,
but I guess
non-martial arts.
I guess the moral of the story is kind of wait as long as you can, get it on video, document the whole thing, try to de-escalate, and if it goes to it, act. You know,
you try to de-escalate, but don't continue attempting to de-escalate if it puts you or others in jeopardy.
Right. Kind of wait as long as you can, and then once you can't wait anymore, act.
Right, because I just watched that video from this past week where that female officer got her ass handed to her. She continued. I watched the video. Yeah, it's on a protected network. She continued to attempt to de-escalate, even though the guy was already put hands on her or fists to her. Mm-hmm. There's a moment to talk. There's a moment to try to plead, and there's a moment to will ask.
Yeah, and that's definitely something that that line is blurry, right? And it changes which side, like it changes which side of the law you're on.
Right.
And I think that the law being involved in those self-defense situations kind of gets a lot of people confused, and they try to de-escalate for too long, and that's where I think that like martial arts training is so important, because it's like with my jiu-jitsu background, I can subdue the subject, or I can de-escalate the situation in a way that doesn't actually cause lasting consequences, right? Like I don't feel the need to pull out a weapon, because that's why I don't carry, because it's like I can fight, like unless you pull a weapon, which if you're willing to go to the death over something, then depending on whatever it is, like you could probably just have it. But it's like if you're trying to throw, like if you're trying to have a fight about something, it's like, all right, we can do this. I don't think we should, but we can. And that goes back to the other comment earlier, where it's like carry the weapon that you're comfortable using.
Right.
Cool. What else do we got? I have like a big list of questions here, but we've kind of covered a lot.
I'll shorten my answers.
Yeah, we are running up on time here. Let's see. Let's find a good one here. Here's one from Mike down in Texas. Glock or 1911?
Well, of course, I come from a Texican. You show your friends your 1911. You show your adversary a Glock.
That Glock that you had last week was fun to shoot.
Oh yeah,
it's a great gun.
Don't get me wrong. I like 1911s. But I've seen too many fail, and not even under combat situations. Mr. Browning made a phenomenal design for the end of World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam. But there's just so many things that can go wrong with a 1911. Now, don't get me wrong, I've seen Glocks fail too, and I've had some of my Glocks fail, but usually it was something weird. I mean, really weird. So I dry fire a lot. I had one of my Glocks fail on the range one day, and even in a competition, because under dry fire situations and length, it can start to damage the plunger safety in the slide. And that's what failed. The spring under the plunger actually just wore out. But so again, for my duty weapons, I don't dry fire those. So I bought a older Glock, and I made it my dry fire only pistol. It's the exact same as my duty ones. It's just the duty ones don't get the wear and tear as this one does. So that one it's my puta, Spanish for bitch. So Glock 19 or Glock all around. And they just came out with their little 22 long rifle one, which I'm phenomenally excited for.
I think you were telling me about that last week.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. All right, that answers that question. I think we've pretty much covered. Oh, here we go. With and without, specifically without guns, what are some of the best ways to think about active self-defense and like perimeter control, where you're kind of trying to avoid the situation entirely?
Situational awareness.
Yeah.
Don't have your head or your butt on your phone. Know what's going on around you. There's some great body language courses out there, not for the ones for the pickup artists, but body language, watching what people watch. Hell, just Tuesday, my youngest son and I had to run to Walmart. I don't really like going to Walmart, especially when things are going like this. But we were walking to Walmart, and this guy was walking through the parking lot, but not into the store. Well, that caught my first attention.
Right.
And I was watching him, and he was watching everybody else. So we got to the front of Walmart, and we didn't go in because I wanted to see what he was doing. and there was a parked law enforcement officer in front of Walmart. I watched this guy maintain obstruction between him and the cop. So I was watching this guy watch everybody else and then make sure he was staying out of the line of sight with the cop. Well, he was watching for people who didn't lock their cars. I think I actually put it on Twitter. Anyways, he ended up walking up and trying to unlock some cars after I watched people leave and run into Walmart. So I ran over and told the cop, and he's like, whatever, I'm like, no, seriously. Anyway, we got done with Walmart. We came back out, and he'd already arrested that guy. So I was like, do you need a report? He goes, no, I'm good.
Okay.
Like, yay.
Yeah.
So, but so to actively just be active, watch what people are watching, watch what people are moving to, watch what, just be cautious. Trust everything that you have, vision, sight, smell, hear, and feel.
Yeah.
People forget to explain that one. What do you feel? If you walk into a Starbucks or somewhere else, well, before, if you were to walk into an area, and proximity isn't always necessary to feel the tension in a room or an area.
Right.
Some of the open air concerts, if you boil it down and you go back, if you walk into the deal, you feel the energy in the room or the space. Everyone's there to have a good time, but do you feel it? You are, but do you feel everybody else's stuff?
It's that like subconscious picking up on patterns and stuff that you really can't put a name to, but you just know in the back of your head and your gut.
Right.
Yeah.
So I would recommend, if you have time, which apparently everybody does now, pull your memory file back out, go your Rolodex, go to those large groups that you went into, a movie theater or the line for concession stands or a concert, or if you went to a fight, a UFC fight or anything, a boxing deal. Go back, boil it down, take out your perception, take out your feeling. What was tactile to you? What it was in the air? Because truly, everyone has already had all the experiences that I've had. I just had a little bit more training and a little bit more mentorship to be able to isolate, so then I can articulate it for a report for my actions later.
Sure.
But everybody's already had all the same experiences. No one's ever challenged you, or no one's ever pushed you to be able to put your finger right on one little thing, which in law enforcement will be a domino effect for a good report. But you all of you guys have had the experiences. I'm just trying to help you figure out, name that one thing. That one thing.
Sure.
You were, I'm trying to think of one. If you've been around a couple that's arguing in public.
Yeah. Okay. You just feel it.
What did you feel about the couple? And then what did you feel about everyone else watching that couple? Mm-hmm. That's two. That's two
separate things.
Right. Yeah. But in one incident, one scenario, that's two things I'm trying to help you guys figure out exactly how to put your finger right on it.
Mm-hmm.
So you can call it out. Because the moment you can call it out, you're now honing that skill to be able to read a group.
Sure.
And not get sucked into the group mentality.
Yeah. And then that goes back to the riot conversation where it's like you see it happen before it happens, and you can leave, you can get out of it before it gets dangerous.
Oh yeah. We watched Barbershop 2 the other night.
Mm-hmm.
And there was that one scene where they had the flashback to when the Black Panthers were in the barbershop. Go, yeah, I'll kill them all. And one guy goes, yeah, no. He fell out of the mob mentality, the group mentality.
Right.
So I guess that's the best way to articulate it, and actually have a visual that in a movie that most people might have seen. Or not.
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen any of the barbershops. Probably need to.
Hilarious.
Well, cool, man. We're about out of time. That covers most of the questions I have. Is there anything you want to add before we wrap it up?
I think the one thing I forgot to talk about was back doors for houses for situations or riot situations or deterrent. Most houses in Colorado have sliding glass doors.
Yep.
Not a solid door. I wish they had solid doors, but they don't. Google it, whatever else. Shatter Guard. It's a 3M layer film that they apply to the inside and interior and exterior of the glass. It doesn't make it bulletproof, but the moment someone were to hit it with a hammer or whatever else, it won't fall. It'll just shatter in place, but you still have a solid pane that is a really good deterrent. So again, shatterguard.com or something like that. They also have some stuff for the vehicles too, if you wanted to take that protection outside the house into your mobile office or whatever else. Doesn't make it bulletproof, but again, then it's not safety glass for your up and down side windows. But in riot situations, if you have to go somewhere, something that drives in to a group is always the magnet.
Yeah.
So the Shatter Guard's got I think they even have do-it-yourself kits. I put some on for a client of mine. There's special tools needed, but you can get them all at Home Depot or Lowe's or where else. I think I did a 12-inch squeegee, alcohol on the wall, on the window to make sure it's super clean. And then you roll it on and then an X-Acto knife to make sure the edges are all straight. And that's about it.
Nah, pretty easy. Cool. All right, man. Well, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. It's always good to talk to you. And it's great to kind of pick your brain on stuff like this. Where can people find you?
PretorianSwift.com. Instagram is, I think it's Mr. Swift.
I think so. Mr._Swift.
Yeah, without the I.
Oh, yeah.
And then I'm getting ready to launch this other podcast with my wife. I think I'm going to call it Marriage Takes Salsa.
Yeah.
Because we like to salsa dance a lot.
Yeah.
But she has some stuff she wants to maybe put out. She's hilarious. Other than that, I've got a YouTube channel, but I don't have it. I think I have a couple of videos on there.
We've only got a couple of videos on ours for now. So
I know. I've been so freaking busy. And that's about it so far.
Awesome. All right. Well, I'll throw those links down in the description. I think that's all I had. Thanks for coming on, man.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, brother. Talk to you soon.
All right.